Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Try Time podcast. This is episode 19. I'm Callum,
And I'm Matt.
and here is our third and final part of the Super League 2021 season preview, where we are going to be going over the individual awards, who we think is going to be top try scorer, man of steel, that sort of thing. Coach of the year will be in there as well. So it's just going to be all individual. We spoke about the teams on the last two, the signings, all that sort of thing. So go check them out if you haven't already. And I think we just get straight into it, don't we, Matt?
Yeah, might as well. So
So
which
first
category
up,
are we going first?
First up, we are going to be speaking about the signing of the season, which I guess isn't an actual award. It's very subjective, I guess, but we're going to give sort of who we think it will be. So I'll let Matt start off with this with his. Basically, we're going to be doing 3 nominees, and then we're going to pick the one that we actually think it's going to be. So I'll let Matt reel off his 3.
Right, well, I've gone for an interesting 3 here. I've gone for Jai Field, I've gone for Justin Lino, and King Vuniyayawa. I've actually attempted to
Very
pronounce his name, so bonus points for that.
Yeah, fair play, fair play.
Go on, who have you gone for?
So I have actually gone for none of them. I've gone for what I think they're very much not under the radar, but I think the 3 I've gone for, you can tell like the sort of the big signing. So I've gone for John Bateman at Wigan. I've gone for Greg Inglis at Wire, and I've gone for Reynolds at Hull FC. And these are all dependent on performance and that sort of thing, but which I'm sure yours are as well. Like
This is
Lino.
interesting how we've judged this, because I kind of feel like the signing of the season is going to be somebody that doesn't just come and delivers, but almost over-delivers. Whereas you've gone very much for the high profile. These are going to be the best players in Super League. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I think it does. I think there might be some crossover with Man of Steel and these, but I think an example is Reynolds. I think if Reynolds comes and pushes Hull FC, which I mean he's their only proper signing, so if they suddenly are in top 5 now, you almost think it will be because
If they're
of him.
suddenly in top 5, my prediction is way off.
Yeah, but then at the end of the day, look at the way Hastings impacted at Salford originally when he first came and pushed them to the heights that he did. That's the sort of thing that Reynolds. I'm not saying he will do, but if Reynolds does that, then he definitely could be the signing of the season.
Hastings was largely unknown though, so this is going to be a lot more pressure on Reynolds' shoulders.
Potentially, but I actually think that it's the same. I would imagine it's the exact same way for your pick Lino at Wakefield, where if they are bottom of the table, it's probably not going to be him. But if he pushes them higher up, then it's probably going to be due to him.
I think Wakefield's entire survival probably depends on Lino, and if he can drag them clear of that relegation fight, keep them competitive all season, I think that's going to be the mark of a very successful signing. And again, I kind of think this is relative to the club that we're talking about. I mean, had Lino signed for St Helens, I wouldn't even be having this conversation right now.
Yeah, I completely get what you mean. I think it almost could be saying, like, I think Reynolds and Lino in a way are similar picks in the fact that it's all dependent on team performance.
Yeah, definitely.
Who are you saying?
Any other picks that you want to analyse, or should we get into who we think it's going to be?
I think we just get into who we actually think it will be. So go on, I'll let you say yours.
I'm going to go for Jai Field.
Very interesting. Go on, tell us why. We haven't really spoke about Field, so I'll let you get
into it. Very, very versatile. I'm not sure whether he's going to come in and instantly look like the second coming of Bevan French, but in terms of actually providing good speed, kicking game, versatility in that Wigan back, he's going to be crucial to what they want to achieve this season. And whilst I don't think he will be the standout player, and I don't think he'll grab most of the headlines, I think he's going to be that solid 8 out of 10 every single week player that I think they've been missing the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, I do see that. I think he's the sort of player that can definitely sort of complement French and Hastings and that whole sort of Wigan back line. I do think he's going to be a good signing. In a way, I did think of him for the signing of the season. I just ended up sort of going away from him, I guess. Bateman kind of grabs the headlines at Wigan, doesn't he?
Is that who you're going for then?
I am going for Bateman, yes. I think Inglis, again, I didn't really speak about Inglis. He could be good if Wire do well as well.
We know I think he's going to flop. We know that already.
it's definitely, I think he's either going to be seen as a great signing or a flop. Because I think even if he just does bang average, he's going to be seen as a flop because of the expectation. But if he does play like he did back, sort of 4 or 5 years ago, then he's probably going to be best player in Super League, let's be honest. But yeah, mine is Bateman because I think it's realistic that he'll be the signing of the season. If he impacts Wigan the way that he impacted Canberra when he first went there, then Wigan are probably going to top the league table, which I have, and you have as well, predicted them to do. So
I think my only thing against that put me off Bateman even on my shortlist is that he's going to be a great signing, but I question if the Wigan pack need him as much as some of these other picks are needed in their respective clubs and positions.
Yeah, 100%, I get that completely. I do get sort of the angle that you're going at with that. So yeah. But I think both Wiganers, but both decent picks, I reckon. So
yeah, definitely. Right, category 2.
Top try scorer, which is always an interesting one. You always want to see your team's winger up there. So go on, Matt. I'll let you sort of discuss yours.
Regan Grace, Ash Handler, Tommy Makinson.
Very interesting. So 2 Saints. Very interesting.
Actually, I'm going to make a last-minute substitution on that. Sack Makinson off, bring in Tom Johnson.
Oh, Wakey.
Yeah, let's throw some more names about. Let's get this conversation properly rolling.
Right, that's interesting. So only one of yours I have actually gone with, which is Handley at Leeds. I think he's always up and around that top try scorer.
Yeah, he was top try scorer last year. He was joint second the year before. I think you're stupid not to include him in the conversation, really.
Yeah, especially the way Leeds play, a lot of them tries do come down his side. So
yeah,
makes sense. And then I've also gone with Liam Marshall at Wigan. I think with Joe Burgess leaving, and they almost seem to have what they haven't had in about 5 years, and that's 2 set wingers, which seems like it's going to be Manfredi and Marshall. So I think Marshall, you already know he can score tries. I think he's going to have an absolute bundle of fun with. He's got French.
Can we just point out we're going to have someone else on the wing because Manfredi's probably going to get injured for a few months in round 2. Oh, hang on, we're all right. Bevan French is a winger.
Yeah, we'll bring that back. Yeah. So I think Marshall's fair, but then also in saying that, that now Burgess has gone, he'll get more tries. My third pick is actually Joe Burgess at Salford. I think in a Salford side that, with the additions of sort of pattern, he's going to be exciting, and I think he'll score a lot of tries because he's a renowned try scorer, isn't he? So
you've just reminded me of someone that I really forgot about and should have said the sign of the season. I think Morgan Escare is going to be up there.
Yeah, 100% actually. It didn't really cross my mind as much.
I completely forgot about that move until you just mentioned Salford then.
Could be an underrated.
Yeah, so slot him in my top 3. Lino, I'm binning you off.
Oh god. So
anyway, back to the category in question. So who are we going for out of these lot? Who do you think?
For me, I do think I'm going to have to go with Liam Marshall, and that is just because of how high up I think Wigan are going to finish. I think they're going to absolutely run away with league leaders this year. So I'm actually saying Marshall. It's hard not to pick Handley, but I'm just going for
I am going Handley. I think he's going to defend that position. I want to say Tom Johnson, but I don't think this. I think it's going to be another year where he inevitably spends some time on the sidelines, and I think that's going to be the deciding factor.
Yeah, 100%.
So, yeah, a lot of Wakefield's tries are going to come through him, but unfortunately, I think they're only going to come through him for about half of the games that Handley and Grace and Marshall and everyone else is going to get. So, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I get that completely. So I think top try scorers. I think with top try scorers, you could essentially pick any starting winger in competent. You could make it make sense, couldn't you? Really, at the end of the day.
Potentially, I don't know. I don't fancy Jimmy McGillivray to be at the top of the list, but
well, maybe a few years ago.
Not now.
So we will move on to away from the players to the coach of the year. Now I'm interested to see sort of who you're thinking about in this and why, Matt. So I'll let you get us going.
I actually think I struggled with this one a little more, just because I didn't want to be the most boring person in the world that picks 3 coaches from the top clubs, but I'm really struggling to look outside of that at this point. So I've gone for Richard Agar, Adrian Lamb, and then I thought for my wild card, let's go Steve McNamara.
all good picks. All picks that definitely went through my mind as well. Definitely.
Who else
In
went
terms
through
of
your
sort of,
mind? Who have you gone for?
well, I would say out of them that you've said as well, I will say Agar and McNamara I wanted to put on this list, but I just thought I'd go for something a bit different. So they are honourable mentions and people I could see, getting the award. But I went for Lamb, as you did, because obviously if I'm thinking we're going to top the league and be so good,
Yeah,
I
makes
can't
sense.
look past him.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
and I've gone with Watson now at Huddersfield. Obviously, if Huddersfield have a good season, he's obvious with his past as well with what he's done at Salford. He's automatically going to be up in that.
I
sort of
don't think
conversation.
Huddersfield will do as well as we've said in the last episode. If you've not seen that yet, predicting our table, go check that out. There's some very contentious picks, mostly in my table. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that is true. And then for my wild card pick, I know you've gone McNamara, but I actually don't think that's as much of a wild card. This one is. I've gone with Hodgson at Hull FC, the newcomer.
I mean, that's got a lot of potential. If Hull do well, then you considering what they were like the last year or so with Lask and Bradford, you have to say a lot of the plaudits go to Brown, that one.
Yeah, I think that again, it's the same as my Reynolds pick for signing of the season. It all depends on performance.
Yeah. It's like me mentioning Lino almost ties in with Chris Chester. If Wakefield can keep touch and avoid going down, then you'd have to say Chester's done a fantastic job. Interesting one name that hasn't popped up for either of us is Darryl Powell.
Yeah, that's true. Because we didn't exactly have Cass underperforming, I don't think, in our tables, really.
No.
So I think that is an interesting one. But
I did think about it, but yeah, I think ultimately.
I think there's more exciting picks out there to be chosen. Definitely. But I think one that actually, I know I've spoke about it, but I think Agar, I don't want to understate the fact that I did actually consider him, and almost when I was thinking of him, I almost overthought. If I had to pick an extra one, it would be Agar, because I think if Leeds finish where I have them finishing,
I think last year Agar probably would have taken this fictional award. When you think Leeds last year, not last year, the season before, so were battling relegation, got dumped out of the Challenge Cup to a Championship club on basically what is a council tip.
Oh, I knew there were a dig coming in there to Bulls.
Well, you got to have one. It won't be our pod without it. And then,
that is true.
In less than 12 months, to win the very competition that we unceremoniously exited as soon as we entered it, and to get close to actually getting back to, well, about to say Old Trafford then, but it were up cake on, wasn't it, last year?
Yeah.
I think last year Agar would have taken it, and I think if Leeds have another good season and really make a push for the actual grand final this time round, again, I think you have to give credit there. A bit like you said with it, we both said with Adrian Lamb, if Wigan do end up winning something this year and are one of the best teams, you have to have him in the conversation.
Yeah. I completely see that, and that's why.
No Christian Wolf though. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think because everyone expects Saints to be so good. You know what I mean? I think that'll stifle him a bit.
I almost think if they do anything other than win, they're going to be a disappointment. A bit like Steve Price, actually. Another name that is probably popped into quite a lot of your minds that we've not even mentioned.
Yeah, that's exactly the same thing. I think they're in the same category. Yeah, I think you can only really afford for me in this prediction, if you can only really afford one of Lamb, Price or Wolf, because whichever one of them three are going to finish top, you think will finish top, I'd banging coach at you, really.
I'm going to throw one last name out before we actually pick. What about John Duffy?
You know what, right? If he keeps that Lee side up, he's going to be that is one that's probably bypassed mind a bit. If he keeps that Lee side up, 100%.
Check me out mentioning the Championship style content.
This
is not normal. He was probably my honourable mention actually for because I don't think Lee are going to go down personally. So,
yeah, neither do I. Well, that's in last week's video, isn't it? We know.
Yeah, we've already plugged that. We're not plugging it again.
Yeah. So, who would you say, if you were to put your money on it now, who's going to win Coach of the Year next year?
I'm going to go for Adrian Lamb because I think out of all the names on this list, he's most guaranteed to win at least something with Wigan.
Yeah, I think that does that. I do get that.
It's a
I am
boring
gonna,
pick, but
I know, and I'm going to agree with you, mate. I mean, my 3 picks so far have all been Wigan players, so it is looking a bit biased, even though I'm a
I'm
proud
gonna
Yorkshire
say,
man. But
can someone, if you only want to send in some fan mail, please send in your pies to Callum.
I think it makes sense. So, like, at the end of the day, Wigan have got a solid team. So what can I say?
I'm
But
gonna
yeah,
say I mean, I think I'll get him signing of the season in coach, but I mean, at least I've not like been all over him like you are. Are they your new second favourite club now after Bradford?
imagine if I go 5 for 5 and it's just all Wigan sweeping awards.
Yeah, well, we'll find out, won't we, if we get the
That could
next
happen
one.
at this rate, to be honest. Mate.
Come
So
on,
next up we have
young player,
young
is it?
player of the year. Yeah, young player. So this is one that's interesting because you almost find yourself like, oh, that player is a really good young player, but you think they've been around in the league for like 5 years. How old are they?
I struggled with this one, but I
Jake
have got
Truman's
some names.
still young. He's still young. There's a lot of still young players around there who have won this, you know, a couple of years ago, and they're still young. But I've sort of looked for ones that have sort of been rising over the last year or two, and I think can sort of do something.
Go on,
special.
you go first this time. Who are your names?
So in terms of me, my 3, I've gone with Morgan Smithies. So Wigan lad is in contention again. But I think that sort of speaks for itself with how he's played over the last couple of years.
Not like you to pick a Wigan player.
We've got Wellesby, which I think after his grand final winning try, and how he's been playing as well, and how you almost on paper wouldn't even have him in that team because of how strong it is already. You know, if an injury happens, he's going to fill in any position in them backs.
Yeah.
So he's always an option. And I've also gone for one which I don't think will have crossed your mind.
Go on.
When I'm looking through sort of articles and things that are talking about it last year's, he was in there, and I know him because he did used to play for Bradford. But I've gone with Matty Staunton at Hull KR. When he signed for them, a lot of Hull KR fans didn't think he was even going to be in the starting team.
That's really interesting.
Solidified a starting place. You know, he's only sort of 21, 22 as well, so he's still young. You know, as a second rower, I just think he can, even though they've made a lot of big signings in that sort of pack and in the backs as well, I think if he can keep his place and Hull KR do as well as I've sort of said they will do and how they'll progress from last season, then I think he will be a big part of that. So I am putting him in there as well.
Do you know what's interesting? You talk about Hull KR signing, one of them is the Nigerian beast himself, Louis Mustafa, who is one of my picks for Young Player of the Year.
Oh, that is interesting actually. But if again, it's probably similar to Staunton. If he can get himself into that side, then
I've seen this guy play at Leeds. He is the real deal in my opinion. Very difficult to tackle because he's quite short for a prop and second rower.
Yeah.
He's a little chunky lad, and that does help him out. He's got a low centre of gravity. Don't expect him ducking under arms like Robbie Burrow, but you know, I think that will help him really progress Hull KR up the pitch this year.
It's more of a Joe Philbin than a Rob Burrow.
Yeah.
Sort of shot.
I mean, for me, I kind of put this category as in players under 21, so that ultimately ruled Truman out for me.
Yeah, I was thinking of Truman as well, and I was looking at players that were sort of like 21 and below, that sort of thing. So a couple as well, like Joe Cater is a good example of a player I definitely considered, but he's 22, so I just didn't put him in there.
I'm going to go for a man who had his breakout year last year and will once again get the number 3 shirt. I'm going for Harry Newman.
Harry Newman, yeah, also crossed my mind as well, but just sort of thought, you know, will he win it again? That sort of thing was crossing my mind.
Yeah, and I'm going to go for somebody I think might just break in under Ian Watson. I'm going to go for Lewis Senior.
Yeah, that's fine. Also one that I had considered.
So a few more out there picks on me. Again, not like me to go for a Rhinos player and a non-loan Rhinos player, but I think both of those are justifiable.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And I think I'm actually going to give it to Mustafa out of my 3 picks because I think he will get game time for Hull KR, and I think we are actually going to see whether or not he is ready to step into blue and amber next year.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what, right? I'm going to propose something to you here. I am going to go with Hull KR's Matty Staunton, right? And
okay, this is going to be... I'll tell you what, we've not done the Dream Team videos next year, but I think you need to put Staunton in, I need to put Mustafa in, keep them in every game, and we'll see who gets the most points.
Yeah. What I was gonna say, we're gonna have like an unofficial, like not including money, but almost like a little bet between ourselves. Who's gonna do, and it'll be like in the pod as well. Who does better this season, Staunton or Mustafa? Imagine if they're both starting in second row slots for KR going all season. That'll be quality.
That would be an interesting one. So, okay, I've got the clean sweep on this one. That's an interesting one.
I think it's a credit to OKR and the recruitment as well, though. I think.
Yeah, I think it's a much better squad than last year. But
yeah, 100%.
I mean, we say this how long before Ryan Hall's in second row instead of one of them.
Yeah, probably. Well, they'll be on loan in Championship, won't they? Speaking about them next week on Championship preview.
Oh, God.
Still a signed-in week now. Oh, God. Yeah, so we'll move on now to the big boy, the man of steel. This is an interesting one, I think, because, like, for example, we've spoke about signings of the season. If they're as good, the signings of the season become signing of the season, they almost could be considered for man of steel, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
It's one where there's endless amounts of players you could predict. So I'll let you reel one off, and we'll go one for one on this because I want to sort of build it up a bit of anticipation.
I'm going to give a bit of justification when I make the pick as well. So the first name I'm going to go for is Paul McShane.
To retain the title?
Yes. And I'll tell you for why. One of the things you need in Man of Steel is to stand out week in, week out. This is why, traditionally, look at some of the Saints team last year. In terms of ability and performances, played a lot better than what McShane did on average over the season. But because there's so many top quality players, they're not always going to pick up points, and it's not always going to be the top points. Well, every single week, McShane is one of the standout performers for Castleford. He's easily in their best 3 players.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's a key part to actually winning this title. So yeah, that's why, for me, that's why Paul McShane to retain is a very sensible pick.
Yeah, that's fine. I think I'll almost match that with a similar type of pick. I'm going to go for Aidan Caesar, and that is because kind of if Huddersfield have a good season, then it's going to be because of Caesar in my mind.
Yeah,
I think
fair.
Obviously it might, maybe not, but like I think if Caesar can carry them into say a top 5 spot, he's going to be in with a shout of Man of Steel. And I think I kind of saw a decent bit from him last year to say that he can kick on with this squad that arguably has got better from last year's squad. So
yeah.
He's going to stand out. I'm not saying he's going to be the actual best player in the comp, but he's going to stand out.
Okay, interesting pick. Right, are we ready
for
this? Okay, kind of in the same vein, I've kind of gone for a bit more of the Aidan Caesar, but with a bit more likelihood of silverware, and I've actually gone for Luke Gale, another former winner.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
Very similar reasons. I think Gale is... This kind of goes against everything I've said on McShane, but Luke Gale is so involved in nearly everything the Leeds do.
Yeah.
And I think that he almost is the type of player that will stand out despite any success that they may have.
Yeah.
This is, I'm not looking at this like I am at Wigan, where despite being both brilliant players, you've got Hastings and French who are both going to be battling to outshine the other one week in, week out. I mean, last year for me, Bevan French was the best player in the Super League, hands down.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But that wasn't enough to win in Man of Steel, and that's because Wigan has such quality all the way from 1 to 17. So yeah, I think Gale is going to naturally stand out more, and the fact that Leeds are probably going to win quite a lot of games again this year, I think might actually help him stand out more.
Yeah, I appreciate that sort of answer, and I kind of get the reasoning behind it. So I'm going to actually mention one of the players that you actually said then in Bevan French, who like undebatedly was the best player in the comp last year. You can't really argue with that. And I think this year he's going to take it even probably a step further with the sort of the way their squad's moving and how I think they're going to finish.
I'm going to make one argument to your point about him being the best player in the comp. You are forgetting Chris Wellham did play last year.
Well, he's out at comp this year, which gives him even more of a chance.
I know, which is exactly why I can't pick him for Man of Steel, because he would have been my third pick.
But yeah, Bevan French kind of speaks for himself. I know there's a lot of class in that Wigan side, but I do think he still shines. So yeah, I'm going to say Bevan French. I think he should have won it last year, and people know that. So
Yeah.
What's your third and final pick?
Well, I was kind of to and froing on this one for a while, and I'm going to reel off a few names that came to mind. One of the first things I thought was, could it be Callum Watkins? Definitely, I think we'll have a much better season this time than what we've seen the last few years. But realistically, is he going to be involved enough at centre to consistently get the points? Then I decided, could it be Mark Sneyd? Very consistent kicker again, similar sort of thing with almost a combination of Gale and McShane, but in the end I settled on somebody completely different. And I think actually none of us have really mentioned anyone from this club as of yet. I've gone for Blake Austin.
That's interesting, and also one that I did consider. So go on, I'll let you sort of explain why.
In the same remit of French and Hastings, he's very much he's a player that plays attractive rugby, and that naturally makes him difficult to deal with, very unpredictable, and not shy from a little bit of magic. All things that I think you need to have in order to stand out and pick up Man of Steel points. We saw what he could do in his first season, and last year wasn't great for him or for Warrington. They massively struggled in the halves, and I think Gareth Widdop really didn't help matters.
Yeah, true.
I think this year they are going to look to Austin more again, because I think there's already been talks that Widdop was trying to leave. I think Warrington have realised actually they probably haven't got the player they thought they were going to have, so we're going to see it come through a lot more through Austin again. And I mean, regardless of how well or not well he might do, the whole presence of Greg English is going to inevitably take some of the defence's attention. And if there's anyone that can capitalise on a bit of space for either himself or for someone else, it's Blake Austin.
Yeah, completely agree with you on that one. Great, it's a good pick. So, in terms of my third and final pick, I've gone with another Wiganer. So there's two Wigan nominations in here, and it's definitely a different answer to all the answers you've given, and it is John Bateman. But I think I've got a good reason. But that is not because, the reason why people say, it's John Bateman, new signing, that's why big name, so you think he'll win Man of Steel. And I personally don't think he'll be the best player in the comp. But when you're looking at how they do the Man of Steel points in a match, if Wigan are suddenly great now, especially in the pack as well, and he replaces O'Loughlin well, then it's almost going to be that sort of, in a way, media bias towards England's, in quotation marks, star player coming back to Super League, and how they almost I don't think it's necessarily going to be like that biased, but I think he's going to be great. When did
Herbie Farnworth come back?
But you know what I mean, where it's like, I think it'll be very, for example, I know this doesn't determine Man of Steel points, but after a game, they're going to want to interview Bateman because he's a personality, and he's a star, isn't he? He's a star that if we can do well, and they're like, who do we chuck Man of Steel points to? Oh, well, Bateman's probably done 50 tackles in Middle at Park, hasn't he? So let's give it to him. Do you know what I mean? And he's a player that...
But is that the same as saying Bevan French has put about 6 players on his arse by stepping sideways?
That exactly, and I think you either go Bateman or French. It depends. You don't pick. I know I've got
the disrespect on Jackson Hastings' name right there.
I think Hastings is quality, but I also think Hastings has done it. Hastings would have to go another step up from where he's been, whereas French has got the side of it where French should have won it last year, so people are going to be like, probably should have won it last year. Let's be almost a bit nicer to him. Whereas I think Bateman is going to be one where it's a new signing, star signing. The media are going to love him because he's English and going to be doing so well. And like I say, if they're scratching their head about, we're going to have played well here, no one's stood out in terms of, creating tries, that sort of thing. Whenever Wigan play this year and you look to that defensive the defensive tackle sheet, Bateman's going to be up there in top three or four in here every week.
I know what you're saying, and I kind of get it, but I don't know. For me, he's just again one too many. So it's the whole James Roby problem, which is kind of what I alluded to earlier.
Yeah, oh yeah,
will top the
I
tackle
get
sheet, will be a key part of every game that they win, but will he be the player that catches the eye with that bit of X factor? Are you going to come out of the game and think back, even just a few hours later, and that moment is John Bateman, or is it going to be some extraordinary bit of skill from somebody else, or a great finish in the corner from Marshall, Manfredi, whoever?
Yeah.
Bevan French as a winger.
I get that, and I think that's why I think in a way he's different to like a Roby, for example, is because I think Bateman almost has that X factor where like everyone is going to want to watch him play because he's such a personality on the pitch. He runs hard, tackles hard, but then he's also got like I just think he's a centre of attention. And
I'm going to mention a name if we're going to think on that sort of front in terms of quality forwards that could really throw a cat amongst the pigeons if they play to the full potential. Assuming he stays at 13 for a good part of the season, which is perfectly possible, what about Matt Pryor?
100%. If Leeds play well and he gets them forwards working, the two new boys as well in there, and he's going to be a big part of that because of how mobile he is and how he can play minutes, can't he, and that sort of thing.
Big
so
minutes.
I definitely get that, and he's a tackle machine as well. So I completely get that. In the same light as Bateman, 100%, probably doesn't have the media attention side of it, whereas like the English bias and that sort of thing either. But
I don't know. I mean, when you think about the players that were still at Origin level when they joined Super League, the only two that did it both that season, Matt Pryor, James Maloney. That still carries some weight. A bit like we still now talk about Tommy Lulu as the last player to play for Australia or New Zealand internationally whilst representing a Super League club.
Yeah, which obviously there is. I mean, Australia is a tough one, really. But I get what you're saying. But then again, like you've just said, Maloney there, and we haven't even spoke. We spoke last week about how good Tompkins is, and we haven't even included him in this. If he takes that what he did last year a step.
Do you know I did consider Sam Tompkins?
Yeah, it was considered by me, but he just like I don't think you can underestimate that. Like I say, I feel like you can go through every single team and pick out a few players.
Go on then, who do you think is going to be Man of Steel out of Lee and Wakefield?
Lee? Oh, now you're putting me on the spot now to try and think about it. Wakefield, I think it's obvious because it could be Lino. I think realistically I can't see anyone else
Johnston?
That unless Johnston maybe, if he like breaks records scoring tries. Outside of that, unless like Reece
he's not going to get Greg Eden's record of 30 odd tries, no way.
Yeah, well,
which again, that's a good point. Greg Eden didn't win it that year either, did he? Because that was Gailey in 2017, I think.
Yeah, he didn't. But I don't think he deserved it because I think every single try he scored would put on a plate for him that year.
Yeah, I mean, that was
classic pass for that.
Yeah, it would either going to be top players in that team were like you see, the Luke Gale or, especially in the grand final, Crack Hardaker.
Oh dear, but yeah, in terms of Lee, I don't think I would be able to pinpoint. I mean, like, there's sort of is it Joe Mellor, but again, if Lee makes top 5, then maybe. But
I don't think that's going to happen, is it? I mean, no disrespect to him, I don't think that's going to happen.
But I don't think they expect that to happen. You know what I mean? They're not playing for Man of Steel; they're playing for survival. You know what I mean? Like, so fair play to them.
Definitely. Okay, well, who are you going for out of your 3 then? Who's your actual?
This is big. I am going to go. I kind of almost talked myself into it because I wasn't sure coming at this which one I was going to go with. I am going to go with Bateman because I'm backing the Bateman.
Right, please can you change your Young Player of the Year to Morgan Smithies, then I can literally start throwing pies at you once we're back in the studio.
No,
4 out of 5 picks for Wigan.
I think and Bateman's coming with 2 of them as well.
But I mean,
if Bateman
I don't know, do you want to have John Bateman's children or something?
No. If Bateman's going to be the winner of the Man of Steel, surely he has got to be signing of the season.
Agreed, but I don't think he'll win Man of Steel.
Yeah, yeah. So who's your pick then?
Do you know I'm going to go for a name that I didn't decide I was going to even mention until about halfway through Young Player of the Year? I'm going to go for Blake Austin.
Interesting. I like it.
Literally 10 minutes ago I decided I was going to mention Blake Austin over Bevan French. When we started filming this pod, my top three were Bevan French, Sam Tompkins, and I can't remember who else. I've changed all three of them whilst we're here.
That shows how, I guess that almost shows how easy it is that it could change in your head. One day you could be thinking
I had James Roby, that was my third one.
Roby, yeah. Again, like I say, it's an absolute headache, and it's near impossible to predict, really. But yeah, it's going to be interesting.
It is, and yeah, I think this is probably going to be it for the large amount of Super League content until we get into our round one predictions, which obviously end of March, all at Headingley. That should be a cracking weekend, even if we can't get to watch it all live. But
yeah, definitely it'll be good though. The way they seem to have it set out and like that, and the fact we're going to get it started.
Yeah,
I think it's good, and yeah,
sounds promising.
Like Matt says, it's going to be sort of more concentrating on the other leagues in terms of the main pod in the next sort of few weeks leading up to that, and the week before them fixtures. We're going to have
Championship next week, so this is where I'm going to look way out of my depth.
Yeah, but I think we're gonna us Championship guys, we're gonna sort of give Matt some more knowledge, I guess.
Yeah, I feel in a better position this year than what I did last year for it. I feel like I actually know a bit more what I'm on about. Mostly because a lot of Championship teams have signed ex-Super League players this time round.
Yeah, 100%. So like next week he's going to be going over them signings, and that's going to be part one of the Championship preview, signings, that sort of thing. And then
hang on, I have got a question.
Go on.
Which video did Toronto come in?
I think you might be a year too late for that one, mate.
Oh, I thought we'd saved him already. There you go, another plug for an old video, check that one out. Toronto fans, that'll give you something to cry over. Sorry.
So yeah, next week's going to be the signings, the week after is going to be the table prediction and that sort of thing, and maybe even like who we think is going to be the best player. So there's going to be two parts of that, and then going forward we're just going to take you right into the start of the Super League and obviously Championship season, as all them fixtures have been announced as well. So yeah, I think we're just going to leave it there. Keep an eye out for all the Saturday videos, so make sure you're subscribing to the channel as well. It does mean a lot to have you subscribed. And then
we should say this at the start of the video, they'll have all sorted off by now. We've blabbed on for that long about what's coming next.
It is, it is what it is. So if you're watching on YouTube, please do subscribe, as then you know when all the videos come in.
If you're not listening on YouTube, go do it. Why are you not on YouTube?
Yeah, if you're listening,
you get to look at our animated heads for half an hour plus. What's not to love?
Yeah, for now. Once we can actually go back into sort of in-person recordings, obviously we will have live video as well.
Yeah, then they'll be going back to Spotify.
One thing I would like to say is, if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, would you please leave us a rating or a review, or both, just because that does help get us out there a bit more.
Unless you rate us 1 star, in which case don't bother, please.
Yeah, if it's below 4, we don't want to know.
Or at least tell us why you're rating us low first, Don't just be mean about it.
100%.
Right, we're blabbing now, let's just leave everyone to the day.
Yeah.
Thank you for dedicating your Saturday night to us. We're sorry we've waffled on for ages. See you later.
Let us know who you think is going to beat Man of Steel, etc.
Oh yeah, but that's what we're on about.
Thanks for watching, guys. See you later.
Bye.